Energy bills are set to rise once again next year, with regulator Ofgem announcing a 1.2% increase to its price cap. And this comes as Brits continue to face freezing temperatures, with Storm Bert now approaching western parts of the country. And it will, of course, add to the concerns for 10 million British pensioners missing out on their winter fuel allowance payments this year. GBNews' East Midlands reporter Will Hollis has the latest.
Well, spirits are certainly high here at the Sutton in Ashfield Community Warm Hub, where for the last few weeks, now that it is much colder, people have been coming to keep warm, to have a hot drink and sometimes even a hot meal. But on the day that the Ofgem price cap is going up, so the average household will be paying an extra £21 in a year, £1.75 in a month, people may need it even more. So I've been speaking to pensioners, some of whom have lost their winter fuel payment worth £300, about how they feel in Ashfield today.
It could be a case of either heating or eating.
It affects everybody really through everyday living, through your cost of what you've already paid out for, whether it's your council tax, your rent, anything. It just affects everybody. That little few pence or pound, it costs you. So where that goes up, like we get a pay rise, we don't really get a pay rise because that money goes on to energy bills or other bills, so it cripples everybody really.
Every time anything goes wrong now, well, Conservatives left us a $22 billion for anything, not just that.
Well, Age UK says that it is bitterly disappointing that old people will still be facing higher prices this winter. It's important to remember that the last time the independent regulator for energy prices, Ofgem, raised their prices 3 months ago, that was 10%, more than an additional £100 that people will be paying on their bills. This 1% may not be as much, but it is still a kick in the teeth to people that are really struggling to pay for their bills this winter.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in a very cold Sutton in Ashfield during the 2019 election campaign. I stay warm in the Wetherspoons. That was my excuse, at least. But on a serious point, all of this perfect storm will obviously be making the situation far more worrisome for pensioners, a large number of whom would not, of course, be getting their winter fuel payments this year. Joining me now to discuss this is the founder of thepensionervote.com, David Pinless. David, welcome to the show once again. It seems every time you and I speak, it's because of a price hike, it's because of the temperatures plummeting, it's to talk about this infernal axing of the winter fuel allowance. And David, I turn to you because few people out there are doing as much for British pensioners as you. You started thepensionervote.com, you've got your finger on the pulse, people get in touch with you all the time. And I wanted to ask you, what are people telling you? What are your users telling you, your membership telling you about their concerns and worries now the real cold snap of winter is approaching?
Good afternoon, Martin. Thank you very much for having me. As you know, our members write in with their stories and they post messages on our website. One such member is Evelyn, I think it's pronounced, who's 76 from Lincolnshire. And she says, I'm considering taking a Eurostar train to France and coming back on a dinghy. Then maybe the government would give me some respect. Now, clearly, she's saying that with some humour, but her sense of frustration is absolutely palpable. And she's clearly referring to the fact that the government spends, I think, maybe £8 billion a year on asylum accommodation, but they're only going to recoup £1.5 billion from cutting the winter fuel payment. Now, I believe that today, by the way, the Prime Minister said cutting the winter fuel payment makes sense. Said it on BBC Radio. And quite frankly, I think what would make sense is getting rid of some vanity projects, such as spending money on overseas climate aid. Anyway, if I can read you one or two more, Martin,
yes,
what our members are saying. Now, as you know, the cost of energy is going to go up in January. So I have a person here called Barry. Barry says, I'm a farmer with a croft. He says, I'm sitting in my kitchen here now and it's 6 degrees. I have my farm winter clothes on and sleep in them at night in the lounge with my 2 sheepdogs. I think my sheep are warmer than me, and I lost the winter fuel payment of £300. Another worry, of course, is food. I have a lady here called Emily in Lancashire. She's 81 years old. Emily says, I shop late in the afternoon in the hope that I will find something nice to eat for supper that has a reduced price label. I identify things that have a sell-by date of today and then linger in the supermarket, watching a member of staff who might look like they are about to stick a reduced price label on. I am ashamed to say I have even hidden these items towards the back of the shelves so nobody will buy them before me. And her last line really, really gets me. She says, I have never stolen. Fancy an 81-year-old having to say she's ashamed and but nevertheless, she has never stolen. This is absolutely appalling. Another recurrent theme is veterinary bills. Now, a lot of pensioners have pets, particularly pensioners who are on their own. Linda, who's 68 from Kent, says, I'm frightened of the winter coming because I feel the cold a lot. I try to eat things that are nutritious, but these tend to be more expensive, so I eat a lot of soup and bread. But I save money to buy logs for the log burner and to pay the vet's bill. A lot of people talking about the vet's bill. A lot of people talking about they're worried about frozen pipes because they can't afford to have a plumber around. Another comment I would make, if I may, Martin, is about pension credit. The Prime Minister says if you have pension credit, you can get winter fuel allowance. But there's a lot of confusion around pension credit. And Graham, who's 72 from Norfolk, wrote in to say, is pension credit a charity? I don't want any charity, but my daughter tells me I should apply so I can get the winter fuel payment. Is there another way I can get the winter fuel payment that isn't charity? Now, I know that 2 months ago, there were about 800,000 pensioners who are eligible to receive pension credit who hadn't yet claimed it. And they would be able to claim the winter fuel payment if they did claim pension credit. There is so much confusion around claiming it. And it's clear that many pensioners are not doing so. So where is this government going, Martin? What are pensioners supposed to do?
Well, David, I mean, I honestly found that very, very difficult to listen to. I mean, the notion that people are sleeping with their pets to stay warm, but they'd happily, give their money to their pets to take care of the pets. That hiding reduced food on shelves, the shame of that. Oh God, it just breaks my heart that we're in this position where people
read some of these stories.
I find it very, very difficult to think that people who've always done the right thing, who are ashamed of reaching out for help, who don't like the notion of charity, of being a burden on the state, who've paid in all their lives into the state, who built this country, who rebuilt this country after war, who talk maybe in jest. I suspect actually a lot of people listening to this will resonate greatly with the notion that you are treated better if you come to this country illegally as from on a dinghy. The hotels near me, the asylum hotels, they've all got the windows wide open, even in the depths of winter, because they're blaring the heating out in there, heating paid for by taxpayers, by people like Evelyn who paid in their entire life. David Pinless, the desperation amongst British pensioners is palpable, and this is your daily inbox. How do you cope with this?
Well, some of them do cut me up, actually, but I reply to everybody who writes in. As I say, some people post messages on the website, on the message board, and others reply to them. Basically, I feel very angry that the government is making these choices. Politics is all about choices, and they have chosen to spend money on certain projects, 11.5 billion to overseas climate aid. I believe there's money going to overseas farmers now, $500 million a year. Whereas they seem to be punishing the demographics of people who they suspect don't vote Labour, like pensioners, farmers, small businesses. But in the end, we're all going to suffer, Martin, because hopefully everyone will be lucky enough to become a pensioner one day.
David Pinless, David, we have to leave it there. Honestly, mate, I think you're doing God's work. You're shining a light on something that really, really needs to be spoken about. And any of your members that get in touch, if they want to come on GB News to tell their story, I'd be delighted to give them a platform. So I think we can only get people to change their minds through exposing the humanity or perhaps the inhumanity of this. David Pinless, thank you so much.
Thank you,
for
Martin.
joining me on the show. That's the founder of thepensionervote.com. Please go to his website, get involved, thepensionervote.com.